The team was great. The results were awful. Everyone liked each other. The group chat was pure vibes, gifs, banter, birthday shoutouts. We even had a shared Spotify playlist called Monday Motivation with questionable bangers. It felt like a dream team. Until the invoices started going out late. Clients chased us. Projects dragged. Mistakes kept slipping through, and somehow I was always the one fixing it at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night. I kept thinking, how can a team this good still get results this bad? It didn't add up until I realized the problem wasn't who I hired. It was what I'd failed to build. I run a small creative agency in Manchester web design, social media, the usual mix of deadlines and caffeine. Nothing flashy, just honest work and a mission to help small brands look bigger. I'd built the team carefully. People I vibed with. Talented, thoughtful, reliable. There was no chaos, no daily drama, no shouting matches in meetings. Everyone genuinely liked each other. We celebrated wins, sent each other Deliveroo gift cards on rough days, and remembered birthdays without needing a Slack bot to remind us. From the outside, it looked like a team you'd dream of having. But inside, we were drowning. Projects were always just a bit behind. Client emails would pile up. Content calendars went out a day late, sometimes two. We blamed the tools, the market, the weather. We laughed it off and pulled together until we had to do it again the next week. And the next. I started waking up with that low-level anxiety that hums just beneath the surface. The kind that makes you check your inbox before brushing your teeth. The kind that whispers, something's off, you just haven't figured out what yet. The team felt overworked. So did I. But we weren't pushing any boundaries. We weren't scaling. We were just circling. Still, I told myself, it's just growing pains. We're a small team, it's meant to be scrappy, right? But deep down I knew this wasn't a phase, it was a pattern. And worse, I couldn't explain why. There was no obvious slacker, no one dropping the ball dramatically. Everyone was trying their best. And yet somehow, I was the one staying late, rewriting briefs, chasing invoices, triple-checking deliverables, wondering why a team that was so full of potential couldn't seem to function like one. I didn't start this business to be the boss. You know the type, clipboard in hand, barking orders, breathing down necks. I wanted the opposite. A collaborative space where everyone had a voice, where Mondays didn't feel like punishment and no one dreaded their manager's emails. So I kept things light, casual, friendly. When someone missed a deadline, I said, no worries, just try to catch up. When someone turned in subpar work, I'd rework it myself late at night, rather than cause embarrassment. When client briefs went sideways, I took the blame. I didn't want anyone to feel bad, so I felt bad for them. I was trying so hard to protect the vibe that I forgot to protect the business. Everyone looked busy, meetings were full of ideas, messages were flying in Slack. But actual progress? It crawled. I started doubting myself. Was I just bad at leading? Too soft? Too involved? Not involved enough? I'd stare at my screen wondering how I could be this exhausted and still feel behind. So I did what a lot of founders secretly do. I started quietly micromanaging, proofing everything, double-checking the calendars, editing client decks at 1 a.m., not because I didn't trust my team, but because I didn't trust myself not to miss something they'd missed. And guess what? Things improved. For a while. Deadlines got met, clients were happier. But I could feel the shift. People got a bit colder, replies shorter. I turned into the very boss I swore I'd never be hovering, fixing, faking calm while quietly losing my mind. No one said anything, but I knew. Resentment had crept in, and I couldn't even blame them. I was trying to be everyone's mate and everyone's safety net. Turns out, I was just burning out. Quietly, thoroughly. All because I refused to admit that nice people, without structure, still create chaos. It all came to a head with a major client campaign. A 6-week social media rollout for a new skincare brand launching across the UK. Big budget, tight timeline, lots of moving parts content, video, influencer outreach, paid ads, all on a strict calendar. We were excited. The team genuinely cared. Everyone said yes to everything. And somehow, everything still fell apart. Week 1, captions weren't ready. Week 2, designer off sick. No backup plan. Week 3, influencers didn't get briefs on time. Week 4, paid ads launched with a typo in the headline. Week 5, client flagged 3 duplicate posts, one with the wrong image. Week 6, we missed the final campaign deadline. Completely. The client didn't shout. They were polite. Disappointed, but polite. They said, "We like you, but we needed a machine, not a group chat." That line hit me in the chest like a steel-toed boot. I closed my laptop, sat at my kitchen table, and just stared. I wasn't angry at anyone. Not really. Okay, maybe a bit at first. Then came the guilt because they were good people. Then came the numbness. That dull, exhausted realization that I'd built a house with great furniture, but no walls. Everyone was working, everyone cared. But there was no clear direction, no accountability, no one owning deadlines or double-checking handovers, just good people improvising, hoping for the bestand me constantly plugging holes in a sinking ship. I looked back at our process and realized we didn't actually have one. We had vibes. We had good intentions. We had Notion pages with no follow-through, no real onboarding, no real roles, no real review system. It wasn't that I had hired wrong. It was that I hadn't led properly. I'd expected people to build structure around themselves. They couldn't, and it wasn't fair to expect them to. The truth slapped me square in the face. We were a team of nice people running in different directions. Together, but useless. And in that quiet, humbling moment, I knew if I wanted to save this business, I had to stop being liked and start building something that worked. After the skincare campaign crash, I gave myself a weekend. No emails, no team calls, just me, a blank notebook, and a very judgmental cup of tea. I wrote out every single task I touched in a week. Design requests, client emails, edits, invoicing, approvals, mood boards, team questions. Redoing stuff that should have been done right the first time. It was chaos in bullet point form. I realized I wasn't a founder, I was a human duct tape dispenser. So I made a decision. If this business was going to survive, I needed to stop patching things and actually build something. That Sunday, I wrote my first SOP standard operating procedure. Simple. Google Doc. How to deliver a post from idea to upload. Step by step. Links included. Nothing fancy, but it worked. Then I wrote another, and another. One for client onboarding, one for weekly check-ins, one for handover during staff leave. Next, I redefined everyone's roles. No more vague, we all chip in nonsense. Claire was content manager, not the person who posts sometimes. Jake was client comms, not the one who's good with words. We added deadlines, real ones, with ownership and consequences. If someone missed a deadline, we didn't laugh it off, we talked about why and fixed the process that let it happen. And I started saying no. No to same-day requests. No to late Friday brainstorms for a Monday launch. No to covering someone else's forgotten job because we've always done it that way. There was resistance, of course. A bit of awkwardness. A few mumbled jokes about getting corporate. But I stood firm kindly, but firmly. And something shifted. Deadlines started being met. Clients stopped following up, we were ahead for once. The same people who'd been overwhelmed started thriving. And immiraculously wasn't the bottleneck anymore. We had fewer mistakes. Less back and forth. More time to breathe. More time to create. And here's the truth I wish I'd learned years ago. You don't need to be mean to be structured. You just need boundaries. Structure wasn't a punishment, it was a gift. To me, to them, to the business. And I didn't have to stop being nice. I just had to stop being a sponge. Once the basic systems were in place, I didn't stop there, I started experimenting. We brought in Trello first. Nothing fancy, just clear columns. To do, doing, done. Everyone could see what was happening and when. Suddenly, we weren't duplicating tasks or guessing who was on what. Then came the weekly check-in short Monday morning Zooms, 20 minutes max. What are you working on? What's blocked? Who needs help? No fluff, no, how was your weekend filler? Just clarity. We added Notion to house all our sobs, client info, Templateur's digital brain. And later, time tracking not to breathe down anyone's neck, but to find where the energy was actually going and what was stealing it. Some people thrived in this new world. They loved knowing what was expected and how to win. Others, not so much. A couple team members left. It stung, but it was necessary. They weren't bad people. They just weren't built for this level of structure, and I finally stopped taking that personally. When we hired again, I didn't just look for creative spark, I looked for systems fit. People who could work within a process and bring flair. And the result? Clients noticed. They started saying things like, "You're so on it these days," or "Working with you feels easy now." And me? I took a full weekend off, no laptop, no emergency calls, no guilt. Just a walk through the Peak District, a pub lunch, and a phone full of Slack notifications I didn't open. I used to think systems were cold, rigid, restrictive. In reality, they gave me back my peace. I still love my team, genuinely. They're smart, funny, talented people I'd happily share a pint with. But I don't manage around people anymore, I lead them. There's a difference. Back then, I was so focused on being liked, I avoided leading. I thought structure would ruin the vibe, that rules would kill creativity, that boundaries would scare people off. But what actually ruined the vibe was the stress, the confusion, the unspoken expectations, the silent resentment when things kept falling apart. We had culture, but no container, and without structure, even the best culture eventually buckles under pressure. Now, we've got both. Clear systems, clear roles, clear expectations. And inside that, there's still warmth. Still banter. Still birthdays and ridiculous playlists. But now we're not held together by good intentions. We're held together by clarity. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's this. If your team is full of good people, but your results are still a mess, the problem probably isn't the people. It's the absence of a system. It took a lot for me to see that. But I'm glad I did, because being liked isn't the same as being effective. Leadership isn't about hand-holding. It's about showing the path, walking it first, and making sure no one gets lost along the way. If your team's full of good vibes but bad results, it might be time to stop tweaking the people and start fixing the system. I thought being chill made me a good leader. Turns out, structure did. Follow for more honest UK business stories that skip the buzzwords and get into the real stuff: what works, what breaks, and what no one admits on LinkedIn. And subscribe if you've ever stayed up late fixing something your team swore was already sorted. You don't need to be cold to lead, you just need a system.